can be a winner. That's right, you can win big on the Awaken Radio Network. Check out our homepage, awakenradio.net, for the latest contests, the latest giveaways. Recently, we've awarded winners just for calling in, just for typing in the chat room, just for making a comment in our forum. All sorts of gifts, heirloom seeds, e-books, and many more prizes are on the way. Right now, you can make a huge difference with $1 by going to awakenradio.net. There on the homepage, you'll see the graphic and the information about your donation of $1 can not only help the station, not only help open you up to Thrival Energy, but it places your name in a drawing to win a full 1-hour Thrival session with Donna Devane. This is a $100 value for $1. Come on, make a difference for $1. Win prizes. Join us in our live chat room. Call in on our live shows. Add comments to our forums. You can win. Every week there's a new winner, and a lot of times there's new winners every night. Join us for Live Talk Radio on the best online talk radio station anywhere in the world, Awakened Radio Network at awakenradio.net. Or if you can't make it to our website, listen on your mobile device. I love you.
Hello and welcome to Evolutionary Women Radio Show with Pernilla Lillerose, where authentic feminine power is making a difference in the world. Hello everyone, hello my friends, and welcome to Evolutionary Women Radio. This is your host, Pernilla Lillerose, and this show is brought to you by Women Standing for Love. Because we are women standing for love. And even though I have created a movement called Women Standing for Love, that is kind of what it's about. It's not necessarily a movement, although it kind of is a movement that is hopefully spreading all over the planet so we can take a stand and stand for love. Welcome to today's show. If you would like to join me in any way, participate, chat in, or talk, call me. You can always go to awakenedradio.net/live chat room. Live chat room. I would love for you to connect with me there. You can just chat in and say hello, share yourself. It's safe, as I've said so many times before, it is safe to go in there, and it's a nice place to connect with other listeners. We can chat together, and of course, if you have anything in your heart you would love to share, if you have a question, you can always call in, and that number is 334-649-7204. Connection is what I know most of us are longing for deep, deep down inside of us. So many of us feel alone, isolated, separate, as if we are not part of the whole. And deep inside of us, there is a deep, deep longing to connect. When I have done some of the work that I do in groups or other ways, what it always comes down to, when people really get in touch with what they really long for, why they're even doing a lot of things that they do, is because there is a deep longing to connect with other people, to connect with ourselves, of course, in order to connect with others, we need to be able to connect with ourselves first. And for most of us, it's very scary. It's very challenging because we have so many ideas and beliefs about who we are. And instead of connecting with that part of us that is bigger than the beliefs and thoughts about who we are, we get identified, we get stuck in that layer, believing we are not good enough, we're unlovable, we need to do it all on our own, all these identities that we've taken on. And as long as we think that that's who we are not connected with our true essence, with our true divinity. And as long as we are identified with these separate identities, then we long for something out there to fill up that hole and fill up that emptiness. And that is how the world is functioning. We are always out there trying to get something, so we won't feel so alone, we won't feel so unloved, we won't believe, or we hope somebody can let us know that we are lovable and that there's nothing wrong with us. But it's always something out there. And the cause, of course, is that we are not connected with that part inside that we long to be connected with others. So if you long for deep connection and intimacy with another person, with a group of people, it's actually quite natural. It's natural to be connected because we are connected. The truth is we can never not be connected. We all connected in this web of love, of oneness. But because we have cut ourselves off from ourselves, right? We cut ourselves off from ourselves. In that, it's like we cut ourselves off from the web of oneness that we are living in and as. And that's when we move out into the world, hoping that somebody or something can heal that connection inside of us that we have broken ourselves. And it is certainly possible to get that help on the outside. It's something that I love to do. I think it's one of the reasons I came here is to help people find that connection with themselves, inside of themselves. And for some reason, many times, I can just see what it is or how it is that people have disconnected. And when we can have somebody on the outside bring that awareness to us in a loving, non-judging, safe way, then we can embrace that part ourselves that we have disowned and cut ourselves off from. And then we will be able to bring it back into wholeness, into that web of oneness that we already are part of. So it's always so essential to connect with ourselves inside first before anything else. However, if we have been too disconnected, and I think that is probably the truth for many, many people, it's very helpful to go outside of ourselves to find somebody who can help us connect back to ourselves. If we do it the other way around, if we go out hoping that somebody will connect with us so we will not do the work ourselves, we will always be feeling empty inside, and we will feel dependent on somebody else to be the love that we already are. So it's not a matter of cutting other people off if we need to find that in ourselves. I think it is really essential to be with other people who can help us connect back to ourselves. Once we do, then we can move out into the world and really start experiencing that deep connection that we all long for. But it's coming from a place of wholeness and expansion, and something that we can grow in and as and help grow in the world, so that the world that we live in can become a place of love and community and connection and joy and peace and love, because we're not trying to get it out there. We have already found it inside of ourselves, and then we can share it with others, and we can build a world, a planet, a community that we all long for. And that longing is very different than a longing of woundedness or separateness. It comes from a natural movement inside of us, where the inner now can be expressed in the outer, because in truth there is no difference. There is not an inner that's separate from the outer. It's all the same. What we experience inside of ourselves is mirrored, reflected out in our lives. So the more whole we are inside, the more it will be reflected out in the world. Also because our actions will be such that we will start creating it that way. We will start building a community, we will build gardens, we will do things from a place of wholeness to the benefit of all. You see how different that is than if you come from a place of woundedness, loneliness, neediness, all these things that keep us separate from ourselves. And then we hope that something in the outer world can give that to us. And I would say, if anything can be given to us from the outside world, it is something that we can start connecting back with ourselves. It's like this example from a very, very old, famous book, where instead of being taught, or instead of giving his disciples fish, or the people on the shore fish, he would teach them how to fish. You see, that is the value of having somebody on the outside help you connect inside. If the man Jesus had given everybody fish all the time, they would become totally dependent on him, and then the mission was not fulfilled. But when he teaches us to fish, connect to the wealth, to the truth, the fullness, the beauty that we are inside, then we don't need anything from the outside anymore. Then we can go and give fish to those who don't know how to catch fish yet. But we always need to teach them how they can catch their own fish, if I can use that metaphor today. So again, I'm speaking to this because in my own life it has been essential to be with other people who could show me how to connect back to myself. And I would say that has probably been one of the biggest gifts in my life, that I have learned to connect back with the oneness, with the love, with the truth that I am. Because from there, it's almost like you're turning yourself inside out, and then you bring the fullness of who you are to the world. So in my experience, I could not have become who I am today without all the support that I have received in my life. There have been spiritual teachers, there have been therapists, there have been supervisors, coaches, mentors, books, workshops, retreats, meditation, prayer. I have used anything in my power, many healing modalities, everything that I needed, I would do whatever it took for me to become fully whole and truly free inside, because I was committed. I knew inside that I wanted to be free more than anything. That commitment has moved me through all the layers that held me back. And I know this is possible for everyone. And for some reason today, I was wondering what I'm going to talk about today. And when I just put a little blurb on Facebook the day before and 15 minutes before the radio show, I have to write something. I just have to say, well, today we're going to talk about this. And sometimes I don't really know what I'm going to talk about. And many times I might write something there or somewhere else. And then it actually turns into something else that I talk about. But today I think I do want to address that, even though we're talking about the longing for connection. Somehow that's how it came out today without me thinking about it. But I think there's something important about bringing it back to ourselves, in the sense that how do we keep the inner flame alive when life gets challenging? It's very easy that we let the flame go out and die out, and then we leave the inner flame, which is really the inner longing in our heart. And then we go outside and try to do something to make things work without being connected inside anymore, without being guided and led by the thing that is most meaningful and most important for us. And that is what our inner flame will tell us what it is, because it comes as a deep yearning and a deep longing that is felt deep inside of your heart, deep inside of your body. And there is something that is so important about keeping that flame alive, no matter what happens. And I know, my friends, it is not always easy. There have been tons of times where I just want to say, well, forget it. This is too hard. I don't want to do it anymore. And I have said that, and I have done it, but luckily the flame kept me going. The flame did not go out. The flame was still alive in me. And even though I might have thought, forget this, and, maybe getting lost in doing or whatever we choose, the flame would always get my attention again. Luckily sooner than later, most of the time. And now, if I want to leave the flame, it's usually not more than a very short time, because it's so strong and so alive in me. And I may be able to look away from it, and I can turn my attention out for a little while. But because my whole life has been about turning it inside and merging inside with my beingness, so that I have woken up to who I am, and in that I have woken up to the flame that lives in my heart as a yearning, as a longing, as an aliveness, as something, an impulse, something that wants something, And I am consistently making myself available for this flame, even though sometimes it looks like, why am I doing this? Nothing is happening. Nothing looks the way I think it's supposed to look. And that's where it's easy to throw in the towel. And, I might throw in the towel and cover the flame, but then the flame burns up the towel, and then bingo, it's brighter than it was before. And I'm like, okay, I see you're still here, Okay, show me what is next. What is next? What is next? And then, like I've been sharing the last few weeks, there has been a time of just not doing. The flame has really been telling me to just stop a lot of the things that I've been doing that I first was really moved to do by the flame, and then suddenly it changed. And it's an ongoing fine-tuning to the flame and learning to trust it more and more. And that is, for me, that seems to be a lifelong learning, to consistently tune in. It's not something you do once and then it's over. No, it's something that you do all the time so that you become that flame, that there's no two anymore, that it's not about I listen to the longing in my heart and then I go out and quote unquote do what it inspires, what this flame is telling me, guiding me, inspiring me to do. It's a learning to simply be that flame and then let the actions come from this connection, this oneness. Connection is actually more two. So it's the oneness of being and becoming the flame. And then moving into the world as that, without leaving it, thinking that it needs to look a certain way. And I am the first one to admit here that has been one of my big challenges, to unhook from the belief or the idea that it's going to look a certain way. It's going to look like this when I'm moving along with this flame, or this is supposed to happen. And again, I don't think there's anything wrong with these visions we have, because a lot of times they come somehow from the flame too, and they may be what help us move to act on what the flame is inspiring us to do. But it is not so that we need to separate ourselves from the flame. I don't know how I can say this clearly today. It's as if we really need to become at one with the yearning, with the longing, with the inspiration, the flame in our heart, that inside of us that is alive and that inspires us into action. Even if that for a while is no action, but just being still and becoming the flame more and more. Because there is an important time to just be and let the flame burn up any part of us that still moves away from the flame. And I think if I can use myself as an example here and exposing myself, I think that has been definitely one of my challenges, where I would get the inspiration and I would move along with it and I would follow it and do everything, such as, for instance, even writing my book, the one called Imagine Being Kind to Yourself. That was totally inspired from within, and I thought it would look a certain way when it was done, that this would be a book that everybody wants to read and buy and everything, because when you write it, it comes with such an inspiration that you just imagine that this is how it's going to look. Now, it hasn't looked that way. It has looked differently. And in that, there might be a thought of like, oh, why did I even do that? But the truth is, I couldn't help doing it because the flame was doing it. It was simply an expression of the flame. And then it is not up to me to decide what it's going to look like. The oneness in being the flame, the oneness in being tuned in constantly to the inner guidance, the inner longing or yearning, inspiration, something that makes us feel alive and expanded. That is what it is about. If we're looking for an outcome, that is the outcome. The outcome is to become so at one with that flame, with that yearning or that impulse that moves in us. To be so at one with that we don't need to leave it and project anything out into the world that it needs to look a certain way. And it is not always easy. That, like I say, that definitely has been one of my challenges. But I have to admit, I'm getting so much better at it. And that is because I keep my commitment to the flame. Every cell in me is committed to become an open portal, an open vessel for this love, this peace, this truth, whatever it is, however we experience it, this presence, this stillness, simply to be an open vessel for it. That is where my commitment is. So in that, if I hold true to that commitment, to that flame that burns in me, then every time I move away and catch myself identifying with something else, as soon as I see it, I can come back to the flame and just throw this identity, this fallen identity, into the flame. Let it burn up. Let it burn up any duality that still causes me to feel separate and different, or separate and isolated and not connected to that I am. And again, it's a process. It's an ongoing process, so that you start realizing that everything that happens in your life, in my life, is so that I can fully embody all of that I already am, so that everything that I'm not, everything that I've been identified with as a separate doer, as somebody who needs to create an outcome out there, as somebody who this, somebody who that, you can fill in the blanks of what you're identified with. The flame will burn it all up, and the flame is the commitment to the deepest longing in our heart. If we can fully commit to that, and it's like, normally say you're not supposed to be attached to anything, but I think for a while, if we can attach ourselves to this longing and simply refuse to leave it, no matter what, it's going to happen. We will burn up anything that is still separate from the divinity that we are. It will burn it up, because we become the fire, and the fire will burn it up. And when I talk about the fire, it's not a bad fire. It's the fire of love. It's the fire of truth that burns up anything unlike itself. The fire of love burns up anything that is not love. If your commitment is love, then it will be a burning fire of love that's burning in your heart. And it will, out of love, it will burn up any area where you are not committing to love, when you move away from love, where you compromise for love. And that's what we do until we don't. So this is one of the ways to really keep the fire burning inside of the heart. That is by committing to it constantly. And I move to, we're going to go on a little break now, and after the break, I want to just read a little bit from my book, Imagine Being Kind to Yourself, about the foundation of it all, the way I saw it back then when I wrote the book. So, we'll be right back after the break.
Awakened Radio, your listener-supported, online, global radio station. where we all come together to share the love and the energy of change that we know ourselves to be. Thank you so much for clicking on our love, gift, and donate buttons throughout the website. Your support is very appreciated. Thank you, thank you, thank you for sharing and making real your love and your appreciation for what all the hosts at Awakened Radio are doing. This is Donna Devane, station owner, saying we really appreciate your help.
Welcome back to Evolutionary Women Radio, where authentic feminine power is making a difference in the world. Thank you for joining and listening. This is your host, Pernilla Little Rose, and this show is brought to you by Women Standing for Love. Welcome back. Hello, my friends, and welcome back. This is Pernilla Little Rose at Evolutionary Women Radio, and this is brought to you by Women Standing for Love. And I have to admit, I am a woman standing for love. And the fire in my heart is a fire of love. And it will not tolerate anything that is not love. To the point that I can see it, that I have realized it. Because I'm sure there's still a lot of things I say and do that may not seem loving, or that may still be unconscious. But it's as they become conscious, that's when I have a choice. As long as these things are living in our unconscious, we don't really have a choice. And that's why it's very important that when we make them conscious, and we can do that with the help of a therapist or a circle of supportive women or men or whatever, going to a workshop, there's places where we can get the support to help make the unconscious things that we are identified with and that run our lives and that keep us suffering, keep us unhappy. If somebody can help us see that, isn't that worth a lot? I can't really imagine anything that's more powerful than to start seeing our unconscious behavior and how it limits us from living the life that the flame in our heart is waiting for us to live, where the fulfillment and the joy and the peace is waiting for us. So making things conscious is very, very important. And this is also something I talk quite a bit about in my book, Imagine Being Kind to Yourself. Most of us are committed to being safe, feeling secure, and to something that's familiar. It's like we are committed to this safety and security, and until we really see how you do that, you keep doing it. You may have something in your heart that wants something completely different, but until you can see that your deepest commitment in that moment is safety and security, you're not going to commit to what you really deeply long for. It's just how it is for most of us. If you can see what you're committed to, if that is safety, and that may be by staying in a situation that you know is not good for you, that's not healthy, but somehow it feels safe, even though it may not even be safe. There is something deep inside of us that still is committed to that. Then we're not going to commit to our heart's desire, to our heart's deepest longing, to the flame that's burning there. So it's very important to make the unconscious conscious. And then once it's made conscious, then we have a choice every moment. Do I choose safety, or do I choose the longing in my heart? And I'm not saying you shouldn't choose safety. You shouldn't do things that aren't safe and right, of course. But when it's done from a place of a deep unconscious fear, That is the kind of commitment that I'm talking about. And that needs to be brought up to the surface and loved back into wholeness. So when I talk about the foundation that I want to share with you from my book, I'm just going to read a page or two from my book so you can see how that relates to, because it's very practical. When I wrote this book, it just kept all these things that kept coming through, and I thought, oh, that's so brilliant. So did I really come up with that? But that's, again, you're committed to something. I was committed to this thing in my heart, and that had a message it wanted to share. And so I want to just share with you how I see that. The foundation that every commitment, every decision that we make, we need to have a solid foundation, because then it can take root and start growing and become alive. So, what do I say here? Okay, this is just from the book, Imagine Being Kind to Yourself. Without this fundamental foundation, your progress is built on, quote unquote, sandy soil, and any wave or wind will soon wipe out anything you may have accomplished. You may notice a change, but most likely it won't have a lasting impact on your life or your world. A real foundation is made of some very special ingredients that you cannot buy anywhere. You cannot get them for free from anyone. No stores or websites sell them. The only way you can build your true foundation is by using the ingredients found deep inside your soul. And here are the ingredients. The first one is a deep longing to live a life of freedom, inner peace, and to be more and more conscious. And this is a longing that is felt inside of you. This is very different from wanting it as a nice idea or something you hope for. This longing comes from deep inside your soul. It is your heart's deepest intent, an unmistakable feeling that wants your attention. The second part of the foundation is a willingness to grow stronger in this inner felt sense and to make it your first commitment, even in the midst of any waves of resistance, fear, or inertia. This is true commitment from the heart, which can also be called dedication or devotion. And the third part of the foundation is an attitude of kindness and love towards the parts inside of you that are committed to safety, security, and certainty, and are still suffering. This kindness is a powerful part of the solvent that helps soften painful edges acquired over a lifetime. This is what the foundation is made of. If any of these ingredients are missing, the house collapses, and you'll have to start all over again. If, on the other hand, all ingredients are present, then any kind of adversity will only strengthen your foundation and help you build what your heart is longing for. So, in this book, there's also, at the end of the book, there are something what I call journal exercises. And I think some of these exercises is to help you get familiar with what is called the felt sense I've talked about the felt sense before, but it is something that you experience in your body. So the whole point of getting in touch with the longing is to feel it in your body. It's not, like I said here, the deep longing, which is the first one, it's not just an idea or something you think, oh, that's a great idea, I want that. It's something that it's a yearning. It can be felt like an ache or something that is so deep in your heart that you simply must have or must do. If you don't have it, and you lie in your deathbed, in however many years that's going to be, and you didn't have that experience, it's going to feel like, oh, that is why I came here. That's what I wanted to experience here. And I missed it because I put my attention on feeling safe by, let's say, staying in a relationship that I knew was not good for me and I thought I felt safe there. Or by being in a job where you are not being treated with respect and love and not being paid what you are worth, or things like that. It can be anything. I'm just giving two little examples here. Then when you lie there on your deathbed, there can be this deep regret that you didn't listen to your heart. And that's why I think it is so essential for all of us to get in touch with this deep longing that lives in our heart. And the longing is always very sweet. It's something that when you embrace it, you feel something in you either relaxes or gets more energy, feels more spaciousness, more joy, more happy, something that makes you come alive. Because that's what the deepest longing does. It gives us life. It gives us inspiration. It gives us guidance and the next step. And it always is something that makes us feel good. That's why the more we stay connected to the inner flame in our heart, the more juice we have, the more aliveness we experience, even if the outcome that our mind thinks it should have doesn't happen. Always go back to the deep longing in your heart. And that's why I talk about it here as the first part of the foundation. And then I talk about the willingness to grow stronger in this inner felt sense, right? In this inner longing. It's something, it's so important to take time every day to keep it alive, to give yourself to it. It's like you feed it your attention. You keep it alive by feeding it with your attention, and it's something we have to do daily for a while, if not forever. I don't know, we're all different. I do it daily, but it's not something that I do. It's just there, I can't get away from it anymore. And that's a good thing. I don't have to work hard to go back to the flame in my heart. It's there. It's got me. It's got my attention. It's like, yeah, I hear you. I got you, Tell me what's next. And then, so because I know that, I am that, it's me, it doesn't really matter what happens. And when I say it doesn't really matter, it kind of matters because I can still get upset when things don't go my way. It's not like, oh, everything's okay from now on. I can still get upset. I might have a conversation with Spirit and say, hey, listen, what's going on here, But I always come back to this. And it's okay we have all these things going on. But my commitment is with this inner flame, with this deep longing. And that is what takes me through anything. So like when I say here in the second step, even in the midst of waves of resistance, fear, or inertia, you better believe they're going to be there. You will meet resistance, fear, inertia, and probably a lot more. They'll be there. But then the question is, are you going to leave the flame and get lost in the resistance, in the fear, in the inertia, in the anger, whatever it is, and identify with that and, spend a day, a week, a year, maybe the rest of your life in that? Or are you going to take this resistance, this fear, this anger, inertia, scaredness, sadness? Sadness is going to be there too. Are you going to take that, go into the heart, into the longing, into the fire, and sit with it there? Can you sit in the midst of the fire with all these feelings, with a willingness to let them be burned up in love, by not thinking they're right or wrong or shouldn't be here, by just being with them in your love, in your longing, and then let that energy transform them. That's how it works. That's why a lot of people, they go to retreats. I have been one of them in the past. Sometimes I went on, 5, 7, or 10-day silent retreats, and it was just sitting in the fire, and anything that came up that wanted me to move away from what I knew was true, I would just bring it back and sit with it and allow it to be burned up in the fire of love. And I want to say the fire of love, so it doesn't feel like it's this, destructive fire that's painful and everything. The only pain we experience is because we resist it. And I'm not talking about, physical pain or emotional pain. There can be pain, but it is in our resistance of it that we're suffering. So can we bring our experience back to ourselves, into the feeling of what is most important to us, and not get sidetracked by anything anymore? And that takes time. It's taken me a long time to be able to do that, trust me. But every step that I've taken to get here is worth gold. So that's why I say in the last step, an attitude of kindness and love towards the parts inside of us that are committed to safety, security, and certainty, right? And they're still suffering. So that's why we have to have an attitude of kindness and love to those parts that are afraid, that would rather run and be safe, that would rather go back to a relationship that we know is not good for us, but there was some kind of safety in it, or that would rather go and take a job where we were very unhappy, but at least it paid for our, for our little apartment, even though we are not happy there. So it's always a matter of choosing, do we want to stay in the fire of our heart, no matter what happens, or do we want to leave it? So when we talk about commitment again, what are you committed to? Are you committed to the longing of your heart? Or are you committed to staying safe and feel secure? Now, if you can honestly answer that question for yourself without judging yourself, in case you say, I'm committed to safety and security. So if that is true, can you just allow that to be there right now and not make yourself wrong for it, not shame yourself for it, not hide it because it's not quote unquote very spiritual according to, I don't know, whoever. All of that. Could you be loving enough to just say, you know what, I'm still afraid to take a leap like that. I still need to do these things in order to feel secure. So if that is the truth for you, and it will be for many, and not only will it be, it is like that for most of us for a while, where we do feel more committed to safety, and that's why we stay in situations that are not quote unquote right or good for us. But if that's where we're at, then our commitment to safety is still greater than our commitment to living the truth in our heart. So if we can be true to that in a way where we say, this is actually where I'm at right now, without judgment, that in itself is already bringing love to that situation. And it will change just by doing that. I don't know if that sounds too simple, but if you can allow your own situation, no matter what it is, if you can allow it to be exactly what it is, and then when you listen to it, right, then it says, I'm still afraid. So then you say, I get it, So it's okay. Let's stay here longer in this job that we don't like, and let's just see what happens. But at least you're honest with yourself, right? You are not living in duality in that moment. You're living in oneness with what's most important to you. And there's something very, very important about that. And I think the most important part about it is that you're being loving to the part that's afraid. You see, that right there, you're already creating more oneness. You're actually already in your heart. You can take that fear and you can take it into your heart, into the part of you that longs for something different. You can take that fear right into your heart and just sit with it there. Just sit with it and breathe into it and say something like, it's okay. I can see I'm still afraid to take a big leap. And that's okay. I would like to take the leap, but I want to take it from a place of confidence and power so that I will not suddenly go back again. If I take the leap, I want it to be real. I want it to be guided by love, not by fear and trying to overcome something that I'm not ready for yet. So that's part of the being kind and loving to yourself, the third part. And just give those parts some love. And just honor yourself for being exactly where you are. And, see, this is the important part. And there is also a part of you that would like to do it differently. And at this point, you're still more committed to the one that wants safety. But all you need to do is just include it, be present with it, love it, and not leave the part of you that's longing for something else. So you learn to be with both at the same time. So if this is true for you, I want to invite you right now to just take a deep breath into the part of you that is afraid, and let it know that it's okay. You don't need to be any different than you are right now. You can just see where you are. It's just making it conscious. And then I also want to invite you to take a deep breath into the part of you that would like to do it differently. that would like to be free and trust your heart more, have more confidence in your heart. So just take a breath into that part of you too. And what we're doing here is just noticing that there are two seeming opposite parts in us. And there's room for both of them. So now I want to invite you to take a breath into both. It's not like you have to be rid of one in order to breathe into the other. They're both here. So take a breath into both. The part that's afraid and that is more committed to safety, if this is your experience. And then the part of you that would like to be free and powerful and confident and able to step out of a situation that is not good for you and that you know is not good for you. But they're both here. So here's the invitation to take both of them and just bring them into the longing of your heart and just sit with them there. Just love them to the best of your ability. And I bet you, when you include the part of you that is committed to safety and security, and you start listening to that part, and really listen deeply, it's like, wow, I'm really afraid, and take that seriously, you might find out how you can make your next step or change in a way so you don't feel that it's too much. So you're doing it more consciously. You might find out a way to take some steps so it's going to be safe for you and all parts involved, which is the best way anyway. But that's because you're honoring all of yourself and you're bringing it into the heart, into the longing of your heart, so you're not leaving one or the other behind. And I think that is a very important piece in making changes, that we include everything that we are in the moment and bring it to a place of love and safety so that this part can actually come into the oneness, into the love. And by you including it in the love, just that, it will help, it will relax a little more. And when it relaxes a little more, you will automatically feel more courage and more confidence in taking a new step. So this is kind of what I wanted to talk about a little bit today, about how to keep the inner flame alive. It's by choosing it. It's by bringing our attention to it all the time. And it's by bringing everything that is opposite of that into it. So all the fears, all the parts that choose security and safety, you bring it into the inner flame. You never leave your inner flame. You always keep it alive. So if you want to learn a little more about my book or the work that I do, you can find the book Imagine Being Kind to Yourself on my website. And my website is LillaRose.com, spelled LILLAROSE.com. And here you can also find more about the work that I do. You're always welcome to set up a free discovery session with me if you wanted to find out where you are, and if it's something you wanted to take to the next step. Feel free to connect with me, and you can find all that on my website. So with that, my friends, I am wishing you a wonderful rest of the day, and take good care of your beautiful heart. Listen to it, tend to it, keep the flame alive by really honoring what your heart longs for. And then it will take care of itself. So you can always go to Women Standing for Love. Also, we have our next gathering next Tuesday, and that is womenstandingforlove.com. So I look forward to hearing from you soon, and I wish you a beautiful and blessed day. Bye-bye.